Mercurial Rachis. When Risk of Rain 2 officially reached 1.0 back on August 11th, 2020, we were introduced to some of the largest additions that would change the game to how we know it as now. A new Eclipse game mode was added to test our knowledge and skill. A true ending was added in that just wasn't obliterating. There was now a reason to spend 15 minutes a stage just to collect medkits and license stakes. A cutscene was added that we have to skip every time we load into the game. So many new additions to look at. It was really easy to forget that this looter was introduced. Mercurial Rachis is an item that spawns in what the game calls wards of power at random locations near the holder's position. If a player, ally, or enemy stands inside the created ward, they are rewarded with a 50% damage bonus, which in other terms is a 1.5 times damage multiplier. Each ward lasts for 24 seconds before disappearing, with a new ward of power spawning in a new, random location near the player. But just how random is random? What does the game define as nearby? Well, the game has two conditions it looks to have met before spawning in a ward. First off, the ward looks to spawn within 50 meters of the player. Sometimes this means spawning right on top of the holder, while other times it means that the holder has to go for a jog before getting bonus damage. There's a bit of manipulation you can do to get somewhat more predictable ward spawns though, as it looks to have a ground node to spawn in, which is based around enemy spawn locations. By standing near cliffs and map boundaries, wards have less potential ground to work off of, meaning less positions for them to spawn in. Alternatively, if you're fortunate enough to find multiple Rachis in a run, whether it be from lunar pods, a funny Eulogy Zero printer, or through a shopping spree from your hard-earned savings, each stack of this item increases the radius of the ward by 50% exponentially. This is actually a really unique stack progression, with only two other items having exponential effects, that being Shaved Glass, which exponentially doubles your damage each time you pick one up, and Light Flex Pauldron, while only reciprocally reducing attack speed, it halves skill cooldown each time exponentially. Mercurial Rachis' radius reaches 54 meters at just 4 stacks, meaning you're guaranteed to have extra damage coverage each time a new wound spawns in. For those playing as Engineer who would rather not shop for multiple Rachis, each of their turrets gets a ward of their own, meaning 3 wards can be in play at once, or even 4 if they brought a lysate cell with them. Anyways, enough talking about the range of this item, let's focus in on the Rachis buff itself that advertises the 50% damage. It seems quite basic at first glance. While being inside the ward, anything, that being you, an ally, or an enemy, is given a 50% damage bonus. Walking outside the ward leaves you with the buff for about a second before losing it, but what if there was a way to keep this buff regardless of where you are? Turns out, there is. Many attacks in Risk of Rain 2 only look to damage stats at their beginning. Diablo Strike calculates its damage when the strike's location is placed down and not when the attack lands. This means that a captain could walk into a Rachis ward, throw down their strike, then walk away and still get their damage bonus. But Captain is not alone in this. Engineer Mine damage is calculated when they are thrown down and not when they explode. An Engineer can thus throw their mines down while in range of a ward, and regardless of where they are when the mines detonate, get the 50% damage bonus. Void Fiend's Corrupted Drowned looks to damage, attack speed, and even crit stats when it first begins, meaning so long as it is not released, it can maintain its damage bonus. Multi's Nail Gun and Power Saw can also maintain this damage so long as they are not released after the damage ward relocates. While Acrid can apply poison inside the damage ward and have it prolonged regardless of location rather than having the damage result itself be multiplied by 1.5, instead the base floor is increased by 50%, meaning the buff does little or nothing to help. The last and probably most notable attack that can take advantage of this feature is none other than Seeker's Soul Spiral, where the orbs summoned base their damage off of the stats of the player when it is first deployed, meaning as long as they are deployed within the ward radius, you can always expect to get the 50% damage bonus off of them. So where would I rank Mercurial Rachis if I were to put it on a tier list? I would probably put it somewhere in C tier. While 50% damage seems fantastic on paper, having the wards relocate often interferes with the normal circle strafe patterns you want to be making while dealing with enemies, which while isn't a huge concern in early or mid-game, come late game opting to run for these wards or stand in their small holdout zones can prove to be dangerous. On top of this, the wards often spawn right in the middle of enemy hordes, which makes them deal significantly more damage whenever they manage to land a hit. Despite being one of the less desired lunar items, it really doesn't change the way the game is played, making it a great lunar to hold on to when hoping for a cleansing pool later on in a run. That's all for this video. Was there something I didn't spend enough time on? Leave me your feedback in the comments below. Thanks for watching.